Hello guys, glad to have you on board again today. We're going to record that weekly update in YouTube so that I won't be punished by those 20 minutes I'm limited with on TradingView, most importantly because we trade on very dangerous areas, very psychological and emotional levels. We are 50% of the all-time highs and 50% where all the retailers have bought. So we're going to talk a lot about it. We're going to uncover all of these things, why these areas will be definitely tricky to navigate, why, first of all, I never thought we would have to get back there again, but it looks like, once again, there's not enough volume, so the big guys need your volume, and they're going to do anything they can to let you sell. So, as usual, price manipulation, this is what we talk about. This is also the reason why I like cryptocurrencies in general, because all of these manipulations will be plainly visible after the math will be released. So it's really a very attractive type of moments, because to be honest, well, I'm not going to sell anyway. I've always made it clear cryptocurrency, in my humble opinion, is the future. I think it's a revolution, and as usual, I'm not a dumb guy who just discovered this a few weeks before, got rich quick, and all of this bullshit. No, I've been in finance for 10 years. I know every bit of problem that the financial system is facing. I know every bit of limits that we've gone down to, and all of the big debt problem that is on top of our heads, signaling rather the end than the beginning of our financial stability. So this is pretty much all about it. Things are going to get trouble, things are going to get filthy, and to be honest, I've made it clear 2022 is the year in which we're going to start losing confidence in the system. Not necessarily losing it all, but I think this is the year in which confidence in the system will deteriorate. Not because the system is broken, just because no one will be able to settle for value in these troubled times. Meaning that everyone will look for a safe haven, but there will be none. So that's the reason why I think right now there is one actually very big motive. The current motive is dollar is king. Well, dollar is the safe haven. This is where we're safe. We're just going to buy dollars, sell everything else. So just, you know, these crypto things. Oh boy, one another bubble. They're just going to die. Well, no, it's not a bubble. It's really a revolution. Like I said, this is revolutionary technology. It's been built for a purpose, and it's going to take over the financial system. It's just that. It's just going to take 5 to 10 years to get there, and there's going to be cycles in between. I've made it real clear also in the past, just bring it that thing. So this one haven't been translated in English, but to said it clearly, this is every revolution cycle that there is. You've got the old world fighting the new world, and they all going to pass through a cycle of emotions with opposite feelings, okay? So the good feeling of someone is causing the bad ones, okay? And then everyone goes pretty much into kind of a neutral state, and then there's the opposite thing, okay? So the thing is that you have to ride that thing. You have to understand it so you play with the right timing. So for those who are in a revolution, okay, the first feelings are they've gone too far, we have to do something, the future is us, and then you take over control, meaning that for the first time, feedback and data suggest you were right, okay? So this is last year, this is 2020-21 breakout, okay? We finally have our output. We finally got it right, and we have arguments to prove it. We've got multi-time frame trends settling in and all of these things. The thing is that then nervosity and doubt starts to ripple in as the momentum gets lost. This is last summer's accumulation pattern, okay? And then comes the problem. The big problem is that we've suffered nervosity and doubt, and now I think we're right into the delusion phase, which is the last one for those who are in the revolution side, okay? Delusion means that we're going to fight, flight, or denial, and the worst is that most of us will either live the market or fight to death. So don't do it, okay? Understand these two things very importantly. Living the market because that was too much to handle, too much volatility. I wasn't here for that. I wasn't here for the revolution, for the tech, but boy, that volatility, not for me. I can't sleep anymore and all of these bullshit. I know lots of you guys are into this, so try to be smart for a second. You've already gone through probably the worst of it. So right now, it's just not the moment to crack down. Okay, and the other ones, fight to death. Big problem, okay? I've always made it clear, and that's not out of today's podcast. Never too much leverage. If you do leverage your position, that means you're experienced enough to margin trade, meaning that you know how the fuck to do it. And most of you guys don't know it, so I've always made it clear, don't try to get richer than you can by buying more than what you can afford. Otherwise, you're going to be the one forced to sell, because you're going to fight to death just because the market makers will take you out. okay? But also understand whatever happens on the opposite direction, okay? So understand what your opponents are feeling now, okay? They're feeling strong. The market is down, so they finally got you, you stupid speculators. You are finally releasing your coins and you're gonna pay your taxes, motherfuckers. This is really what this is all about, okay? Understand that these guys are wrong, because anyway, we're all gonna terminate in the same way. It was obvious. We all terminate to say, well, that was obvious. It had to happen. And we had to get through this. Okay, so the delusion phase is definitely the one in which you shouldn't leave the fucking market. That would be the worst thing to do. We had the fucking positive feedback. This is the multi-time frame trends we've settled. So don't convince yourself that the bear market is there again. It's like 2018. Fuck it. No, 2018 was a bubble, and I've made it clear I was there on day one to tell you that that was bullshit, that there was absolutely no value, no intrinsic value and use cases for these things, but over speculation on ICOs and absolutely crappy future telling stories. Now it's totally different. We've got use case, we've got true demand, we've got professionals who got in, they adapted, they understand the value of these things, they're just trying to get in. So the way they do it is that they revenge and they punish you. So how do they do that? Well, I've got a clear evidence that this is really what's going on now. We're being punished, okay? That's exactly the feeling that I have when I look at the market today, the punishment. So how are we being punished? By just being brought back to very painful levels. Where we are now is definitely the same levels that were very much painful. That the levels in which you were nervous and doubting about it. Remember what you felt just 1 year before. Last summer was like, fuck. I know these guys might be right, but I can't stand it. I will sustain my prices. I will get there, and if I was smart enough, I would eventually even buy there. But still, price has gone up, and now we're back there, meaning that it feels like a rejection. It feels like we were wrong. This is the first time in the last times in which we were proven right that, objectively speaking, it looks like we're wrong. We're going to go back to where we were, and it was so damn painful. How the hell can we go back there again? You shouldn't do this, you motherfuckers. We are the revolution. Yeah, okay, good deal. Then now, let's get yourself over-leveraged, buying margin, buying more than what you can, because, oh boy, if you sold out there and if you could have bought again today, you would have been so rich. Well, what was the statistical probability of this? So negligible that you should never have been thinking about it. Still, it happens, meaning that we are in the delusion phase. Now, we're definitely going to convince ourselves that it is a good opportunity to leverage yourself because we shouldn't even back there. So whatever, fight, flight, denial. Don't be doing that kind of bullshit. Prices right now have absolutely no value. Absolutely none. The only reason to be there is to get you into that delusion phase, meaning that those who will suffer from these emotions will either over-leverage themselves or just get the fuck out. They would just leave, because that's too much to handle. I've handled this last year. It rebounds, so I was euphoric again, and now it's just not possible anymore. I'm not going to live through this again. Not again. We've gone there just a few months ago, and then we finally rebounced. We finally had those price confirmation. And to be honest, when I saw this, I was definitely like, well, we're finally breaking a resistance. We're there. The bullish momentum is here. The bullish cycle is there. We've got everything we need. And yet they got wrong footing us once again. But does that mean value has changed a bit? Not at all. The value is always the same. I always made it clear the value for a Bitcoin is 48K. That's the average price on that range. And we haven't gone anywhere else. We haven't broken that range. We're just going back to where we were before. And the market is trading it with psychological mismanagement. It is the delusion phase. We shouldn't have done that. It wasn't statistical. It wasn't probable. Anyway, I've said it multiple times. We shouldn't have gone there. There was no reason to get there. Still, the difference is if you make the bad decision now, you're going to come cry for it. Because what's going to come out of this is going to be the revelation, meaning that the next phase is that this was obvious. So if you think we're going to build the craziest bubble ever, like, well, this is just a temporary phase, now we're going to 10x, and then we're going to lose 60% or whatever. No, not the case. What's going to come next out of this thing is that, yes, we're going to get out of this value because that's not the value for a Bitcoin. That might be the current value, but we've been trading it for a year now. But does that mean that this time it's going to be the last time we deal with those prices? No, we can rebound one more time and get back there, and we can do that so many times. But don't get me wrong, in bullish trends, we never break a support. So we're never going to get below these levels. I know so many people are getting convinced that we will. They're buying puts. Well, good luck with that. Let's look at the fundamentals. Well, here we are. All of the value information coming from this network tells us one thing. No one is selling. As you can see, the realized loss isn't there. So no one is panic selling. And there's no reason for this to happen. I'll explain everything about it. The network value is as low as it was in the full crash of 2018. So we're so undervalued. It's crazy. But we're in a trend this time. Last time we were in a bubble. So we crashed after the bubble. Now we have a trend. Remember that the revolution is taking place. There's no way to stop it. And most importantly, all of the intermediate stage have been played exactly. So the delusion phase is the last one. It's not the one you want to miss. Okay? Okay, when it comes to cycles in here, we're going to see who is making the price action today. Come on. Okay. So this is the pattern we've talked about, but I'm going to say it over again because I think this is the crucial part to understand who is playing in this market today and where we are in the cycle. Okay, so these are the two most interesting cohorts. Okay, this is the short-term gambling, 1 week to 1 month. They just go in at the wrong possible timings. Okay, the most of their demands are when the market picks. Okay, and when they're the only one demanding, meaning that, well, they take over all of the activity. Like this is where we get the tops. Okay, so tops, distribution patterns, this is what we've known. Okay, so as you can see, the cycle is pretty damn visible. They take over, they lose, then some other cohorts take over. Okay, they take over, they make every trade, they make every bit of the value in the market, and then another cohort takes over. Takes over. You can see the cycle. They take over, then the others. They take over, and then the others. What does that mean? That means that these guys are transforming into hodlers. First, they make their trades, they release. The market releases the gains, they get into losses, but they don't want to release. They don't want to let go. They bought the market tops, but they're gods, you know. This is the revolution, bro. I know it's good. I've learned my tech. I'm in here for the money, and most of them are just dangerous speculators or gamblers. But, well, they're in here for the tech, you know. So some of them are going to turn into hodlers. They're just going to hold on losses because they believe in the tech. Though, of course, those who believed in the tech 5 years ago, 7 years ago, definitely have been proven right. Same as the one who bought in 2018. But the thing is that still, you don't want to be a buy and holder on the market that goes down. But the thing is that this is exactly what happened. So many people have bought the top and they're now holding. So this is where the next cohort shows in. Okay, this is the third part of that cycle. As you can see, when these guys combined start to sell, so we just need to take these ones off the table. Okay, so as you can see, the cycle is always the same. When these cohorts take over on prices, remember that this is when the market is going down. These are the short-term guys who turn into hodlers. When they release, two things can happen. Either they turn into the largest cohort, 1 to 2 year, they become cycle holders. These are the ones who never sell, okay? 1 to 2 years means, well, you've gone through a cycle or nearly gone through it. You're never going to sell. Even if prices drop another 30% from the current prices, you're never going to pay any attention to this. Okay, so then these guys take over, and once this guy starts selling, that means the bull market is reactivated, because these are the ones who start selling the coins as prices go up. As you can see, when these guys start to release the coin, it's where the bull trend starts to emerge. Okay, so there is the phase of the market. The dumb money goes in, then portion of that dumb money just go in, out, whatever. A large portion of them turns into hodlers, okay? And then these hodlers hodl through the whole supposedly bear market, and then they get into either very long-term hodlers, meaning that they'll never sell, and they'll wait until the next cycle begins, and then the cycle begins again. The short-term gamblers are in, they take over the price because there's no supply. The supply is released by these guys who do it partially and patiently over the cycle until once again they've released all of it and the short-term gamblers are in. So where are we now? We are here at the tipping top, meaning that this guy will start releasing anytime there is a bullish price reaction. So you have to understand that in terms of cycle, the next bull run is going to trigger a bull trend. It's not going to be like whatever, it's going to be the beginning of a new cycle. And we're going to release all of the fucking current coins until it goes way, way down. So there is a lots of coins and lots of supply that's going to be released in the market. But there is probably going to be the demand for it. You have to understand that this is very likely going to push prices higher. So, yeah, another cycle is going to come in. We've had a pretty damn short cycle, and I've never thought that it would be traded that way. I've always pleaded for the opposite of it, meaning that I thought we would get an extended cycle, but turns out I was wrong. We just had a shortened cycle. That is probably going to be the beginning of other cycles below it, or after it. But we have to release all of these coins now. So either we really are in a bear market and these things will go back to the previous value area, 4K, 5K, and these guys will sell at a loss, or the 1 to 2 years guys are just the same as they were before. They're not going to sell no matter what, and the next cycle of demand will show up anyway because we're in a revolutionary cycle. Metcalfe's law, there will still be more people going in, and as they go in, for whatever stupid narrative that is, they will buy into limited supply, which means prices can only go up. And as prices go up, these guys will start releasing slowly but steadily. Okay? So you have to understand how these things actually happen. So where are we now? We're into late accumulation phase, and anytime the bull market goes in, the guys who have the coins have it for 1 to 2 years now. Do you really think these guys are going to release when we make a 20% gain? No, these guys will not sell their coins until we go all-time highs and above. So that's what you need to understand. The current market value is undervalued, but most importantly, when it comes to speculators, people think it wrong, in my humble opinion. I always look at these two metrics, and my personal alert level is when we are above 16. So this is where I get my alerts for leverage. Well, we're standing at 21, barely 22, okay? Which means we haven't, for an entire month, gone into low leverage in the market. So everyone is leveraged in the futures. Everyone is taking risk, and they're piling up that risk. But what's staggering is that we were definitely standing for neutral position, just as much bulls as there were bears. Now is not the case. Now we have 60% bears, over 40% bulls. Leveraged. I don't like that. This is where we build bottoms. Not necessarily the way people think of, by just flushing everyone down and then up. We can do short squeeze out of it. We can just take a 10 to 15% move just out of today because the current conditions are very much tensed and there is no support. So the bears have to buy themselves out very quickly. Okay, so you have to understand this. If we start a next cycle, it's not a short cycle now. It's not like we're going to go up and it's terminated half year long. Whenever we start, and I've really stand still for this, whenever, because if you understood my point, on the charts, I think that nothing can actually happen for the next month. We're not going to start going bullish because there's not going to be any demand until we actually recover the sentiment, because the current sentiment has gone to a level that is not going to drive demand anytime soon. The market is grim. The sentiment is as low as it was on all of the worst moments in history of that market, and we trade it that way. We remember the pain. And it's going to be even more painful because this time people will feel the delusion, meaning that just like I've seen on the derivative markets, they're getting leveraged. They think it shouldn't have happened, so this is not normal. They're going to buy, and the more they buy, the more they're going to fuel those lower shadow candles that are going to take them off the table. But if they start convincing themselves that they should short to buy or whatever shit that is, that breaks their mind by going into short-term gamblings, they're just going to fuel the market to do nothing. It cannot rebound because the buyers can't buy. You have to understand that. The big guys who want to buy with millions, they can't. If they haven't already, the only thing they can do is to maintain us into that bearish sentiment so that the short-term cohorts figuring out to sell. Exactly what they do now. They sell coins, which the smart money slowly buys day by day. But if they buy too much, if they get excited, well, the smart money is going to sell the crap out of them. Maintain prices in heavy pressure until they have bought enough. Because you are in delusion phase. They know you're going to crack down. They're just going to take the time it takes. It can take just a few days, if they can flush you out and get what they want, if they can get as much money as they want, well, we don't have to be there for an extended period of time. But if you don't crack down today, they're going to use time against you. They're just going to do the same old stupid Wall Street manipulation thing, which is they're going to crush down volatility through derivative market gamblings. They're going to flood the market of options so that no one trades the spot. It's going to be a gambler's market for the next few months. That's option number 2. And if we do this, well, the sentiment is going to remain very low because any hope of rebounds is going to be very short-lived. And we're going to pull back to the same old support we're standing into right now. It's probably never going to break. But the fact that we go back there again and again and again and again and again, it's just going to look more and more bearish, even though we always trade the same prices. People are going to feel that those prices are going to be more and more subjective to release and breakthrough. And someday, you're going to feel confident enough to sell. So this is really what's happening. We're in the delusion phase. So I know that 80% people will just leave the boat because some of them, most of you, are actually holding for almost 2 years now. So, yeah, that's too much volatility for you to handle. Well, Joe, I think there is one very simple thing to do out of it. First thing is that you have to understand that, yeah, I could be wrong, but I've seen many markets. Definitely much more than just cryptos and stuff like that. I know a trend when I see one, and I've always followed trends. I never trade against them. So there's a trend. I trade against trends when they are mature enough to reverse. But definitely not the case for crypto. We just got started. The best is yet to come. But right now, it's all about delusion. So we're going to make you delusional until you sell. And if you do not, well, it's not going to recover at a V shape unless they bought enough of it. If they want a quick cycle, well, that's a possibility. Remember that we have no supply available. So if no one sells, if no one cracks down, they're going to have to buy a market without supply. But until that's the case, they will do what they do best. They know you're going to be weak, so they're going to try exploiting this, meaning that they certainly do not buy lower. If you were dumb enough to think that they're waiting to 27K to buy or whatever shit that is, no, they're not. They're buying you on a day-to-day basis. One bite at a time. As you get confident enough that this market is going to go down, they let it go down just as much as necessary for you to believe it's going to keep going that way forever. So that day after day, some people get liquidated because they take on too much leverage and they're going to take that money and buy with it. But not buying too much, because if we buy too much, you're going to get excited again, meaning that the long-term holders will hodl. So they don't want that. They want the long-term holders to feel the pain. They know you're not going to sell. Most of those who are in the 1 to 2 year cohort won't sell. So that's all about it. If there are too much short-term gamblers, they're going to take the money out of them instead. They're going to just make a lower shadow candle, wreck everything in, take the money and buy with it. Option number 2, if there is too much of a long-term holder cohort, which I think there is, they're going to play the time game. They're going to rise interest rates costs, meaning that if you are margin trading of some kind, of any kind, interest rates are going to rise. It's going to cost more to hold on to your existing leverage position. And they're just going to play time. They're just going to let time pass. 2, 3, 6 months eventually, in which we're just going to go back and forth to that support. Sometimes we'll try to slip below, but it's not going to last. But we'll never breaking a single resistance. That's the option B. If there's too many long-term hodlers, and if you don't let go, this is how they'll do it. Let it ride on the support endlessly until, for some reason, there is too much demand for them to destroy prices. And understand that demand comes out of sentiment. So whenever the sentiment gets bullish again, they'll know that they can't control it. You're going to be willing to buy something and there's no support. So they're going to have to buy it before you do. They have to buy before the demand shows up. So this is a limit time gamble. Anyhow and anyway, the bulls are going to win. There is still a slight chance that I'm just an absolute crappy bullshit guy in YouTube who just thinks that a revolution is there, which is not. I mean, yeah, that's a possibility. So never gamble all your money into crypto. Never be dumb enough to think that the revolution can take place in a couple of weeks because that DeFi projects or whatever shit that is just released. There is definitely some value in these markets, but people will mix their heads by getting into gamble projects because they think it's going to 20x or whatever. Just stick to the good things. They have value, they will retrace, and they will go bullish again. Don't think that you can only have the good guys. Among the list of assets you have, and the ones that I have, I've always made it clear, I have a narrow list of 7 assets in which I strongly believe in. These are my long-term holding assets. I know some of them, I'm probably going to be wrong with them. I cannot be a winner on all of these, but I'm not releasing anything. I'm currently experiencing 50% drawdown on my account. But these are no losses. Let me be real clear, a drawdown is only there if you take it. So if you have no leverage, and if you don't surrender, well, if the market goes bullish again, this is not a drawdown. This is just a temporary drawdown. Though understand that this happens on these markets, looking at the returns that we make, having a 50% drawdown on equity is absolutely normal. It's just up to you to transform that into a loss. And in order to do this, there are only 2 ways. Letting the bullshit get into your head, getting yourself delusional enough to sell one day and regret it months later. Option number 2, you're going to be forced out because you take too much risk. Remember what we said about the delusion phase. You're going to either fight to death or leave. These are the 2 mistakes not to make. So do whatever it is, but just make sure you don't fall between those 2 cracks. If you have leverage, you're fucked. Because you play the game. And if the game settles, and if they decide to go down and take your margins, you have no point fighting against it. The broker is just going to take the money. It's that. It's always been that way. If you margin trade in cryptos, you're dead. Because the only available kind of margin that there could be is like 10% margin on account. That's what I have. I've gone margin trading for 10% of my account. So what? The market has to go 90% to the downside to take my margin out. They won't do that. I still have far more than above 2 on the margin now. My current margin levels are above 2, and I still have cash to fill in the blanks. If there's ever a problem, I'm going to pay my margins. So this is really all about that. They can't stop me. The only thing that can stop me is if I surrender for some reasons. Like I said, some coins I'll make a bad choice with them. I cannot win everywhere. So settle for a few coins that you truly believe in and make sure you don't sell these. If you have leveraged, well, that's too bad. I've said it multiple times that you shouldn't do it. If you fall down these cracks, then now hope is your only remaining thing. Hope that they won't go flushing you down. It's still a possibility because normally we do not break supports in bullish trends. So I hope that you'll be safe. Personally, I'm not taking that gamble. I don't know where the price is going to go. I know it's stupid, and it's just looking at either pulling you out if you've been leveraged, and if too many people are leveraged, they're just going to take you out and take that money to buy. And then we're going to restore the bullish trend immediately right after. But option number 2, if nothing happens, if we don't flush, then that also means that we're very less likely going to break any resistance. We're just going to die into a stupid range in which, well, this is a resistance, this will be a support, this will be the mid part of a range. We're just going to dry out liquidity in between 30 and 50K, possibly all year long, until enough people get the hell out so that the smart money can buy before they sell you another stupid narrative and trigger another bull trend. There is also the third option, in which, well, there's too much buyers, not enough sellers, we go all-time highs in a couple of months. Don't get me wrong, we're in bull trends, so I think anyway this is the outcome. I just don't know how long we're going to play this stupid delusion gamble on the supports. All I know is that now that the sentiment is at 11, the demand is non-existent. So they can play with fire and play with the prices as long as they want. It mostly depends on whoever is participating in this market. If there is too much long-term hodlers, they know that volatility is not your problem. You're not going to surrender to volatility. So you're going to surrender to the opposite, the lack of volatility. The fact that if 6 months from now we're still trading on the same supports, someday you're going to be in a bad mood and you're going to start losing you're going to start releasing some of your coins. Well, stupid mistake in my humble opinion, okay? So understand that if you are in the long-term cohort, your psychology now must be, I have 6 or 7 assets. I know a couple of them will go to zero probably. I know normally at least half of them should stay there and a couple of them should restore bullish trends. That's what it is. Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you've picked the right guys and you're going to get a 5 out of 7. Or if you can get the 7 out of 7, then good luck for you. If you're on the short-term gamble now, like going into puts and calls or going into futures with leverage to just follow the short-term move, you're going to be the market maker's puppet. You're going to be their bitches. And they're just going to move you up and down on every direction. But the outcome is that there's no point winning. You can't win versus a market maker because they know what you're doing. They have algorithms that predict your behavior. Even not knowing what you will self-do, they probably know that they can take out your money. Before even you think about making a gain, you know that when you play against the market makers, in which the only goal in these areas is to play with sentiment, and that you lack of experience, how the hell do you think you're going to be profitable against these? So try to be rational. If you play the short-term gamble, it's too late. You're already down a dangerous corner, and you can only hope to eventually survive it and never reproduce that mistake again. If you're in the long-term hold or cohort, just make sure you have reasonable margins or no margins at all, and just let the tempest pass. You could have made better calls. I could have. Like I said, if I was smart enough to sell at the top and buy now, I would definitely make a lot better trades. No one is here to be the best trader when we're talking about making 5 to 7x on our trades. 50% drawdown is just normal, absolutely normal for these types of things, okay? So, at least now I hope you have a rational thinking. The illusion is what you feel now. It's exactly what I feel as well. I just know it's not rational. It's part of the motive. It's part of the plan. I had to get through it. I'm prepared for it. If that means I'm going to have to shut down for 5 to 6 months and do nothing on my account, I'll do it. So you know what? I'm going to let you know exactly what I've done for the latest few days. First of all, rationalizing all of those very bad feelings. Do you think I'm happy now with a 50% drawdown on an account? No. I'm down the hole just like you are. I feel very depressed. But I know I'm not going to act. This never is going to be the case. I have a plan. I'm going to follow it. I've made my bear case plan scenario, and we follow none of them. So, for now, I do nothing. I'll follow that plan if I have to. But in the meantime, the only thing I know is that right now, not acting is the best thing to do. The only action that I've done, putting 75% of my account in self-custody now, with my key being put at the bank so that if I want to act, it's going to take me a few days, a day to take an appointment, to get there, grab the key, go back home, and all of these things. So I put a lot of distance between me and my trades because I know it's going to be painful. This is the first revolution cycle I'm experiencing myself. I haven't gone through the 2000.com bubble, so I know it's going to be painful. I know it's going to be hard. So even though I trust myself as being a very good manager and money manager, well, I'm going to put some distance in between me and my actions. So self-custody is it now. Most of it is into staking. Staking, and I got a bit of it left in Nexos for those who do not give me staking revenues. So I have more self-custody than before, and I have the rest on lending, which means time is now profitable for me. I know time is going to be the absolutely unpredictable variable now. So I could either drive myself crazy about it, I know it's not going to make any changes to this, or I can try to do the most rational things. I'm in the long-term holder cohort now, and I'm going to have to live with that and make the only actions that I can perform. And this is what I recommend you doing as well. Take a bit of distance. You don't know how long it's going to take. It's unpredictable and no one knows. The only thing you should know is that it's going to be painful and everything's going to be done to push you making bad decisions. So try to put as many distances between you and these actions. That's what a strategy is meant to be doing now. But if you know that you're going to be cracking eventually at some point, I don't know, do what I do. Buy a ledger, put your coins into this, put them into staking, and give that key to someone else so that you cannot act on despair or whatever. Okay? Because if it takes another 6 months in a depressed general ambience, well, maybe someday you're going to be so depressed that you're going to convince yourself that it is the right thing to do, sell to buy lower or whatever shit that is that you can blur your mind with. So that being said, this is not going hope. This is not like going despair and saying there's nothing to do, so I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to go denial. This is no denial. I have a bullish trend in front of me. I follow that trend. All I know is that this trend is going to turn psychologic phase. If we switch to bear market cycles, I'll let you know. But right now, it's not what's happening. So until further notice, that's what I'm going to apply as a plan. Doing nothing and putting some distance. Bye, guys.